Hello and welcome to this new romance reading. So this is a reading to have a look at a relationship that you're already in. So if you're not in a relationship at the moment and you want to know about how your crush feels about you, for example, I will link to another video above so that you can go and have a look at my video all about your crush. But if you're in a relationship and you would like to know what the potential of that relationship is, where it might be going, if it's going to go on the long term for you, if it's going to be a short term thing, this is the reading for you. So let's take a look at our piles of cards here. We have pile 1 with this lovely little rose quartz crystal here. Okay. We have pile 2 with the hematite crystal, a very metallic grounding crystal. Pile 3, we have this lovely piece of orange carnelian here. And pile 4, we have quite a pale piece of amethyst. Isn't that lovely? Okay, so take a moment, gaze at the piles of cards and see which one you feel drawn to, and you'll know. And then you can click on the link in the description below and watch your reading. If you feel particularly drawn to 2, you can actually watch more than one because there may be some overlap between them. So hello pile 1, you've picked the pile of cards with the rose quartz crystal. Let's take a look at your cards. Okay, so to start off from the Tarot of the Fairies, we have the Ace of Spring, the Prince of Summer, and the Princess of Summer. Oh, this is lovely. This is a very nice energy, I have to say. There's a very innocent, fun-loving energy coming through here from this relationship to start with. Really, really like this one. Very good feelings, lots of good feelings, very romantic. It feels like you're quite sensitive to each other's needs. It feels like there's a really good synergy of energies here. And it does feel like a situation where you may have fallen in love quite quickly, or the other person may have swept you off your feet. It's quite a dramatic energy comes in here as well. Also quite an innocent energy, but it comes in with this lovely new beginning. Yeah, it feels like you kind of may have felt at the beginning, or you may still be at the beginning, and feeling kind of like this is really the person of your dreams, and wow, it could really work out with this person. So we're going to have a look to see where the energy takes us, because certainly this is a good start. You know, this is definitely a good start. Very nice to see. But I feel like one of you could be a little bit immature in this situation. That's all I want to say. So it could be immature in the sense of not acting like a grown-up, or it could just be a bit emotionally immature. It does feel like one of you, it could be you, could be the other person. Feels like if there's a male in the relationship, it could be that person. But it does feel like somebody is a little bit more grown up than the other, and that's where I see the possible issues in this relationship. It could be that one of you is more emotionally mature than the other by quite a big extent. That's what I want to say here. But it's a very beautiful energy. It's a very loving energy, and it comes in with a very nice potential to start with, for certain. It does feel like there's a very gentle energy between you, lots of kindness, you know, being very loving, flirtatious. It's kind of a fun, sexy energy there. You know, I'm sure that things are good in the bedroom if you've got that far. And it's going to make you feel on top of the world. You may feel, you know, 10 years younger if you're of a certain age. You know, you might feel a bit younger than you were before. It may be making you feel really good at the moment. So it's a good start. I definitely want to say that it's a good start. What I'm seeing here is definitely very nice. It comes with a lot of potential, this relationship, and I think it's going to depend on how you learn to actually work together when you're in the real world, because it feels like you may be very much entrenched in the honeymoon phase at the moment, and I do want to say you may not necessarily be able to actually gauge this relationship based on the honeymoon phase, okay? Because I don't feel like this is going to be a long-lasting dynamic, this particular crazy honeymoon energy. I mean, it could be for some. I mean, this is a group reading, you know, after all. But it does feel like the first days, the beginning of the relationship is really heady, really overwhelming. The emotions may be so strong. You know, you may be somebody who comes from a difficult background, so when you fall in love, you fall hard. You know, you may be one of those people. You may be quite empathic as well, I feel. And I think the other person may be quite sensitive and empathic too, but they're not as kind as you are. They're not quite as accommodating, I think, as you are. Or it could be the other way around, because again, this is a group reading, take what makes sense, leave what doesn't. But I think it's probably you, which is the more empathic of the two, the kinder of the two. It's a very nice energy to see. It's a very exciting energy, absolutely. And it does come with an opportunity to work together as well. I feel like you may have either met through work or through a work connection, some sort of business connection, or you could actually be planning to work together in the future, maybe, or volunteer together, or do something on a self-employed basis or something, run a business together. Maybe that's a subject that's come up, because it does feel like you would be very compatible at doing that, because it feels like you both have very engaging energies. I feel like you and this other person, particularly the other person, I think would make a good salesman, or it might be you, or it could be both of you make good salespeople, good marketing people, because you're very bubbly and full of fun, and that kind of comes out in the relationship when your two energies meet. It just kind of causes this explosion of emotion and fun. It's a very bubbly kind of champagne cork energy here. It's like the champagne bottle just went pop when you two got together. Yeah, you can definitely move things forwards for now, but we want to have a look at the long term here, don't we? So let's bring in some other cards. So we have number 5, the throat chakra. Number 3, reach out. Another 3 with nurture. And 6, the third eye chakra. Now this is interesting. Okay. All right. So throat chakra, communication, third eye chakra, psychic communication. So for some of you, I feel like there's an almost telepathic connection between you. And this is something that you do see in couples. It's something I've experienced, in relationships myself, where you have a telepathic connection with the other person. And that doesn't happen with everyone, but it does happen with certain souls when they get together. And that in itself is quite exciting. You might sense when the other person's literally about to show up and their car pulls up outside your house, or you might know something about them, and, or you'll know exactly when they're going to ring you, things like that. That can be very fun. So there is a very magical telepathic energy here. And I do just want to add the caveat here that just because you have a telepathic or an empathic strong connection with someone doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a long-term relationship. Okay, so I'm just going to put that out there. All right. Things are definitely looking good for you, pile 1. But just for future reference, just because you have a strong soul connection, spirit connection, telepathic connection, psychic connection with someone doesn't necessarily mean they're the right person for you. So I just want you to remember that for future reference, because it is very easy to think that means that they're the one, and it doesn't necessarily mean that at all. But communication is very much highlighted here, and I can feel my throat chakra, my throat is literally tightening up a little bit as I look at this card. So it feels like there may be some issues to do with communication. Perhaps maybe one of you isn't very good at communicating, isn't very good at opening up, despite all of this other good stuff going on here. When it comes to the more serious emotions, the scarier, deeper emotions, it feels like one of you is struggling there. It could be you, could be both of you, but it does feel like one of the parties here isn't doing so well with the communication. And again, when I was saying about one of the people in this relationship actually being a little bit emotionally immature, I think it's that person who's having trouble speaking up, or seems to expect that the other person should just magically know how they're feeling all the time, which is not realistic and not reasonable. I'm just going to tell you that now. If you didn't know, that's not okay. Younger people in particular, we have this idea that the other person should just be able to just know what all of our needs are. Particularly if you're an empath, particularly if you came from a difficult background and your parents expected you to just magically know, what they needed all the time, and you had to run around after them. And we kind of come to a relationship with a certain entitlement without actually realising that we're feeling that way, without actually realising that that's not okay or normal at all. So there is something of a feeling of entitlement from one of the parties here. And a lack of communication, which I think will definitely need to be looked at. Communication and the psychic connection here, yeah, that can definitely make for something of a confusing energy. So I want to say, yes, you obviously do have a soul connection with this person. You obviously do, for at least some of you, have a psychic connection with this person as well, maybe telepathic. But that in and of itself isn't going to be enough to make this last on the long term, okay? You must make a point of communicating with each other, okay? It may even be helpful to involve a relationship counsellor. You may even want to do that quite early on, or somebody to act as a mediator, an intermediary, because this kind of energy, it can be quite dramatic. I feel like there could be a lot of sort of highs and lows with sulking going on, you know, and getting back together again and breaking up and getting back together again. You know, that could definitely be a dynamic of this relationship. And that's very unhealthy. And that's not a good sign at all for the long term. If you've ever been in one of those on again, off again relationships over a long period of time, you will end up exhausted and drained. And, you know, it's a terrible, terrible way to exist, terrible way to live. Not something that I would suggest at all. But we've got these 2 3s in the middle here, which I find very interesting, because 3 is about the grand design. It's about designing the relationship, designing your lives moving forwards and your life together moving forwards. So 3 as well is the DNA. It's the divine blueprint, if you like. When it comes to esoteric numerology, we call it the divine blueprint. And it is about designing this blueprint together. And in order to do that, there does need to be nurturing. Okay, there does need to be this gentle energy together. And I want to say in this relationship, get very clear early on whether you want to have kids or not. Okay, I just want to say, I feel like this needs to be ironed out very early on if you're to have a long-term potential here. Otherwise, this could end up being quite a serious issue. Be very, very clear and very honest with yourself and with each other about that. Because a lot of us might say, oh, no, it's fine. Oh, I'll think about that later. No, think about it now. Because I feel like that in itself could be quite an issue for this particular relationship. So sort it out now, then you don't have to worry about it moving forwards. And don't feel like you have to go along with what the other person wants if that's really not what's in your heart when it comes to children and family. And when I touch on family, that could be cats and dogs as well. You know, it's not just human children that we have. So get very clear on that family aspect straight away. It does feel like, yeah, I mean, what I was saying about the emotional immaturity of one of the parties, it does feel like one of you wants the other person to take care of them a little bit more than is reasonable. A little bit more than is reasonable for an adult human being. So again, it's that emotional immaturity coming in here, which could be causing resentment. It might feel all right at the moment, you know, if you're still in the early days, if the energy is still quite heady and exciting, if you're still in that phase, you might not really notice it, or you might not mind. You might think, oh, it's okay, I don't mind. But you will mind later on down the line. So again, that is something that needs to come into balance, something that needs to be sorted out. I think that's going to be necessary for longevity of this relationship. And I do always say when people come to me for readings, you know, one-on-one, for private sittings, I'd always say, look, I never say never. I'm never going to say categorically no. I'm just going to give you my opinion based on the energy I'm looking at right now. And when we look at the energy, when we look at the cards, we can see where the improvements can be made, where the changes can be made. So what I'm trying to do here is not tell you definitely you should leave this relationship or definitely you should charge ahead with it. I'm trying to give you information so that you can be empowered to make your own decisions. That's always my aim with these readings, and that's what I want to do here for you. I just want to clarify that because I know you're a very loving, sensitive soul. I think some tarot readers can be a little bit too harsh with you guys sometimes. So, okay. Yes, the communication absolutely has to come first in this relationship. It must be prioritized. You must work on communication and you must both be willing to do that together. So what I was saying about, you know, maybe introducing, I mean, it could be somebody connected to religion. It could be if you're religious, it could be a priest or a pastor, a vicar or something who gets involved to actually help you with your communication, with the relationship, to help you both with setting expectations, you know, to make sure that you're very much on the same page. Because I know that it felt like at the beginning you absolutely were on the same page. There's this very passionate connection that you have. You know, when that first flush fades, you need to make sure that you actually are the same people working towards the same goal that you thought you were. Absolutely crucial. So let's just bring in a couple of other cards here. We're going to bring in some fairy oracle cards now. Here, let's see what we've got. So we've got hope. That's rather lovely. Okay, we've got divination. Yeah, it's that psychic link again. You're so powerfully connected. I've got new beginnings. Ah, interesting that New Beginnings comes out next to this Empress card here. The deck I'm using here is a non-traditional tarot deck. This is the Fairy Tarot, this is the Fairy Oracle, and this is a non-traditional tarot deck. I don't have any traditional ones because I'm not boring. But yeah. Now this is, again, it's this beautiful childlike innocent energy. It's like you approach this almost with beginner's mind, which is a beautiful energy to come at things with. And I do want to say, yes, go in with your eyes wide open in this situation, in this relationship. But I do want to say to remain optimistic. I'll just read this card. It says, hope is always there, even if we can't see it. Optimistic expectations can help change a negative situation into a positive one. So I want to say, if you've already run up against some problems, I want to say stay optimistic with this one, because you have got a really powerful connection. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be able to resolve these issues. Stay positive, okay? I feel like there's a lot that can be done with this energy. There's a lot that can be worked on, as long as you're both prepared to do that together. And you must work on relationships. You know, it's very rare that people have a successful relationship without having to do some serious work on it. Okay. And a successful relationship doesn't necessarily mean a super long-term one. Doesn't necessarily mean that you get married. But we are looking at long-term potential today. So that is very much my focus here. So divination, Embrace your powers of divination, which are especially strong right now. You have the ability to see your current situation with crystal clear clarity. So there is some confirmation for you there that you're probably already seeing correctly this energy that you're working in at the moment. You're already aware of what's going on. Now, as I was starting to read this card, my camera actually cut out, and I can't explain why it did that. There's no logical explanation. I didn't touch it. I didn't have a call coming through on my phone, so I really don't know why that happened. But it does feel very much like that that was something important that happened, that was intentional. Very often Spirit will do something like that, mess with my equipment to get my attention. So it feels to me like your spirit guides are trying to get your attention. So your divinatory work, you know, your meditation, if you use cards yourself, or if you use runes, or, you know, any divination tool, very much pay attention to what it's trying to tell you. Because I think you have got a very strong intuition. You know, we've seen that you're very sensitive. With the Princess of Sava, it's a very psychic energy to be sat in. And with the third eye chakra right next to it, you know, this is a very psychic energy. So I do want to say, I think you already have a handle on what's going on. I think you already know, and you're just kind of here for some confirmation, or for at least some of you, that's going to be the case. Okay, again, group reading, you know, it's not going to be for everyone, but for some of you, you're already crystal clear on what's happening. You're already seeing it clearly. I'm very drawn to the fire on this card as well. So I feel like fire gazing could be something very powerful for you. It might be something that you do at home. You know, you might have a log fire, you might have a wood burner, or you might be someone who enjoys having bonfires or going camping, having campfires. So I want to say for you, gaze into the fire, because I feel that is going to be quite a powerful way for you to actually get messages from your spirit guides, for you to communicate with your higher aspects of self. Particularly when it comes to love and romance, fire feels like a very powerful form of divination. So next we have the New Beginnings card. I really love how that has come out next to this Nurture card, which is kind of Empress. In a traditional tarot deck, that would be the Empress. New beginnings, wow, yes. So this whole situation may involve children quite early on. You may already have a child together or children together. And I feel that's partly why it's so important to get very clear on the whole family situation. If you want to make a success of this relationship, if you want to actually do something together, if you want to have a future together, be very clear that you're working together on this, that you both know exactly what the other person wants, and that your goals are aligned. And I can't stress that enough. You know, we think that love is going to be enough, but it isn't necessarily. You know, if your goals are completely misaligned, if your view of what a relationship should look like is completely misaligned, if you've got very different expectations, somebody's going to end up miserable, and possibly both of you, and that doesn't bode well for the longer term. So get very, very clear on the issue of children. If you already have children in the relationship as well, you know, it's very important to think about their future as well. Think about what's best for them. Is this the right person to be staying with, or are they causing too much drama in your life? You know, are they failing to communicate with you about the child's needs? Are they not stepping up to the plate? Are they not helping enough? Are they acting, you know, jealous of the child? Are they being, you know, some men in particular can be really immature when a baby comes along, and they can get really jealous that the child's getting all of the attention, especially if it's quite early on in a relationship, you know, because they want the attention for themselves. And again, that's a very emotionally immature thing to do. But there is some emotional immaturity here, so I do want to talk about that. But I do also want to say there is a possibility that It's just that you're about to enter a new phase of the relationship right now. And I think that's why we're looking at these cards for you today, because you are about to enter the next phase and you want to know, it's kind of like a middle phase we're going into now. So we've done the beginning, now we're going to move into the middle phase. Or into another middle phase, I want to say, into a second phase, third phase. Definitely moving somewhere. Again, oh, excuse me, my throat chakra is not happy with this energy. So again, communication is going to be absolutely crucial for you. You must talk to each other. You must make sure that you're communicating in the right way. Be aware of how the other person communicates, how they listen. Don't make them feel uncomfortable or and my phone just cut out again, which I wasn't expecting. This has never happened before. But this seems to be relevant because with technology is very, very sensitive to energy and it doesn't do these things by accident. So I've actually been into my phone's memory now and I realised it was very, very full, although I thought I deleted it because this is quite a modern phone. It has a waste paper bin. It has like a recycling bin that you have to empty after you've deleted the files themselves. So you have to delete them twice, essentially, just like on a laptop computer or a PC, which I hadn't thought of doing, to be fair, but that's what I want to talk about. So what is it that's cluttering up your energy? You know, what are the things, the issues that are kind of filling up the bin, filling up the waste basket? Yeah, it feels like there is some difficult energy here that maybe you haven't completely cleared, and that's what needs to be looked at moving into this new beginning, this new phase of the relationship. It feels really important to me, and this is what I was saying, getting very clear on family, getting very clear on communication, you know, remaining positive, remaining hopeful about the future, absolutely, but going into this eyes wide open, making sure that you're not just stuffing some things down, because at some point they will overflow and they will cause a problem for you. Okay, make sure that you're not stuffing your emotions down, that you're not bottling things up, and just not saying anything, trying to you know, go along to get along, and make sure the other person isn't doing that as well, because that can be absolutely catastrophic for relationships. You know, I've had relationships that ended literally because the other person didn't have the emotional maturity to talk to me about things that they weren't happy about, and they just stuffed it all down until they couldn't cope anymore, and then all of a sudden that was it was over, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. I mean, in hindsight, I was a lot younger then, and I look back and I think, wow, that person was so immature to have done that. But you can avoid this. You can avoid that dynamic. This doesn't have to happen to you, you know. And age doesn't necessarily have anything to do with emotional maturity either, unfortunately. I know people in their 80s who are incredibly emotionally mature and probably will never grow up. But certainly, you know, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Okay, you have the opportunity to work on it now, as long as you're both prepared to do so. And we will have a little look at the potentials here as well. So, right, let's just bring in a couple of other cards. We have number 4, Badger Spirit, be fearless and bold. And number 6, Beaver Spirit, lay a solid foundation. Yes, so what I was saying, it is really important that you start laying the foundations of the longer term relationship, if that's what you want at the moment. And that doesn't necessarily mean buying a house. It means laying the emotional foundations. How do you communicate? How do you fight? Do you know how to have win-win fights, win-win arguments? Okay, do you know how to communicate in positive ways and not sulk or, you know, be dramatic or you know, and not be babyish about things? You know, and it does feel like you're going to need to be the one to actually bring these subjects up. It feels like you're the one that needs to actually ask the other person to sit down and say, okay, I care about you. I want this relationship to work. We need to just have a conversation about how we're going to do this together, how we're going to plan this together, what's working, what isn't working. Let's look at how we can work on this together. And it is really about building that energy together now, which is wonderful because we've got numbers 4 and 6 here. So this is wonderful energy. This is great. 6 being the heart, the sacred chalice, the lovers, you know, the choice of the relationship comes up here. The choice of it going long term is definitely there. And 4, which is the foundation, the solid foundation. It's the ground beneath your feet. It's what supports you. It's what provides that safe and solid foundation for the relationship to be built on, to move into the future. You have that opportunity to work on all of that right now. So I'm very hopeful for you, Pile 1. I'm quite positive. It's not perfect, what relationship ever is. I feel on the longer term, you've got some very, very good prospects here. Okay, I feel really quite good for you. So let's just bring in some romance oracle cards here as well. See if we can get a little bit of extra insight there for you, because I think it's looking good. Yes, transformation is needed. 4 + 6 is 10. 10-1 is all about transformation and new beginnings. So it looks like you're about to enter a new phase. But as long as you do it correctly, sensibly, and with lots of talking, lots of communication, and lots of listening to each other, I really don't see why this shouldn't go for the longer term, because you're obviously very well matched. You're very much in love with each other. I see that. You know, it's a very beautiful energy. This could definitely work on the longer term, as long as you put all of the other structures in place, because you've got the feelings, the emotions are definitely all there. It's just a case of doing some slightly more practical emotional management now. So we have codependence, codependency. Yeah, I love you more than you know. And you are enough. Oh, that's beautiful. That's really nice. Okay, so again, I want to touch on the subject of codependency on 32.5. It is something a lot of us do have some codependent traits, particularly if we have trauma in our background. Like I touched on earlier, I felt like one of you or both of you may have come from difficult backgrounds, may have experienced perhaps abuse, perhaps deprivation, maybe in childhood, maybe even in a past life, and you may have brought some of those tendencies through into the present. So you feel like you have to put the other person first all of the time. And empaths do that. We put everyone first all of the time because it doesn't occur to us not to. And that is part of codependency, you know, literally living for the other person. Okay, so I want to make sure that you have a strong sense of self, and that is something that you can work upon. Work on your sense of self, because I feel like this other person really cares about you, really loves you. Like I said, the love foundation is here. I love you more than you know on number 4. So again, it's another 4. The foundation of love is already here. Okay, you have a very good chance of taking this relationship long term. Okay, but I want you to know that you are enough. So there's a little bit of a boost for your self-esteem, your self-worth here. That might be something that you need to work on. It might be something the other person needs to work on, to know that, yes, you are enough for the other person. They're not going to tire of you. I don't feel like you two would ever get bored of each other. All right, you're just too much fun together. Your energy is great. Even if you weren't in a relationship, I think you would have to be friends because you would just get on so well. And you may have even been friends beforehand. That's definitely a possibility here. And I feel if the relationship were to end, I think you'd still be friends afterwards as well. And good friends, because there is a friendship here. But you are enough for the other person. And there is the wisdom, the wise number 9 coming through to remind you of that. You're enough on your own. Okay, you don't need a relationship. You're already enough on your own. But you're also enough for the other person. You are good enough. Okay, and I just want to bring in that reassurance for you. So, okay, oh, commitment, that came in upside down, so I'm just going to note that. So commitment comes in on 30. So there could be some actual commitment issues here. Yeah. And I want to say, before you sign on the dotted line, you know, if you're planning, if you'd like to get married to this person, that's definitely a potential here. But you really must get some things clear first. Or if you're already married, you know, you might have rushed into it because this came in upside down. I'm feeling like maybe you did things the wrong way around. Maybe you had a child very early on in the relationship. Maybe you kind of got married on a whim. I'm not sure. You know, for some of you, that'll be the case. Not for everybody, of course. But you've got to make sure that you do things in the right order. I want to say, yes, I know you get swept away by these powerful emotions. I get it. You know, I do understand. You know, you're both dreamers. You both love. You know, there's probably a lot of Taurus and Libra watching this video. You know, I know this is you, but yeah, you've got to do things in the right in the right order, I want to say, in the right steps. And my mind suddenly went very confused there. So it feels like the romance can be so captivating sometimes that sometimes you get confused and you can't remember what you're supposed to be doing. So I want to bring your feet back down to earth a little bit and ground you with this number 4. Yes, you love each other. Yes, it's wonderful. Okay, but now you need to be a little bit more practical and just kind of bring yourself down to earth, breathe. Ground yourself if you need to. You know, if you need to do some yoga poses to ground yourself, then do them. Drink a glass of water, breathe, everything's okay, you know. Rainbows and unicorns, unrealistic expectations, yes. So what I was saying, make sure that your expectations are aligned, because I feel in this relationship, There may be unrealistic expectations coming from a place of one of you not understanding what relationships are actually like. Maybe you've got this Hollywood idea of what relationships are like, okay, and how relationships are portrayed in Hollywood and, you know, in movies, TV series generally is extremely toxic and unrealistic. Very, very unhelpful. Not to be taken as role models whatsoever, in my opinion. For the most part, absolute trash. Okay, and this can give us very unrealistic expectations, and it could be from your background, from your upbringing, that one of you has unrealistic expectations of the other. And again, that has to be absolutely has to be ironed out, because I feel like there's a real admiration between you. There's this real admiration. You really care and admire each other. And maybe you think the other person's capable of stuff that they're not. Maybe you think that they're this amazing person that can do all of these things. And you're like, wow, oh, they're so incredible. I'm not good enough for them. No, 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 no. You're actually really well matched. You're actually really well suited. Okay. Yes, it's wonderful to put this person up on a pedestal, but don't knock them off when you find out that actually they are human after all. Okay, Libras, I'm talking to you. Libra, Sun, Moon and Ascendant, I'm talking to you in particular here. And I'm allowed to say that because I'm a Libra Sun. But air signs in particular, be very clear about who this person is and who they're not, all right? Because I feel like there's a lot of idealization going on here, and you do need to be a little bit realistic. It could be you, could be the other person, could be both of you. But I think it's probably both of you. Yeah, be very, very clear that you're both human beings. So anxiety and fear, yeah. Commitment requires work. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Oh, that's sad. And Venus Aphrodite and emotional neglect. Yes. Okay. So commitment requires work. Yes, it does. If you want a relationship to work, and it comes in on 12-3, which is the number of perfect governance. So yes, you absolutely can make this relationship work if you work on it together. But making a commitment requires doing the work to make that commitment actually work. Otherwise, it's not worth the paper it's written on. Okay. Signing a marriage contract means nothing if you're not intending to go through with it and you're not prepared to do the work to make it happen as well. Emotional neglect. I feel one of the parties or both of you, and I touched on this already, could have suffered from emotional neglect in the past. And I feel that's been a pattern for one of you, possibly both of you as well. So again, that's an underlying issue here that really needs to be looked at, and that can definitely lead to codependent tendencies. You know, it might be time to work with a counsellor. Again, I said about working with a relationship counsellor together, and even if it's early days, there's no harm in doing that. That can really help to set you on the right path, can really help an awful lot if you feel drawn to do that. So anxiety and fear, oh, that's so sad. But it does come along with very exciting, very romantic relationships, which can be a little bit turbulent in the beginning. There can be a lot of anxiety and fears coming up there. And it's important to note that some people can't tell the difference between butterflies and anxiety because they can feel very similar. All right. So, and you can get very triggered at the beginning of a relationship as well. You know, if you've had a difficult past, if you've suffered from abuse, trauma, you know, in other relationships, in childhood, if you've had to deal with narcissists before, which empaths usually do at some point, we have to deal with a narcissist or two, and they're horrible. So it feels like there's a lot of anxiety here. You know, is this too good to be true? You know, is this too good to be true? Am I good enough for the other person? I feel like these questions are coming up either for you or for both of you or for the other person. But no, you absolutely are enough. You can do this. Okay, I think if you can overcome your fear and work on your own emotions, again, you have a very, very good potential here, as long as you're both prepared to put the work in, which I think you are. I do see that, you know, that there is this powerful connection here. I think you are. From the number 4s I've seen showing up, I think you're both quite prepared to do that. And I would say there's a very good chance this one's going to go on the long term, which is exciting. So Venus Aphrodite, yeah, that's a beautiful energy. And again, it doesn't matter what gender you are, really doesn't. And that comes in with great wisdom of 11-2. So you have the support here of the goddess of love. All right. So ask her for help. Ask her for help. Ask her to step in and help you when you need her. Pray to her. Ask for her guidance. You know, she is absolutely here, ready to work with you on this relationship, because she sees that this is a beautiful, divine relationship. Okay, and it can be a very healing relationship for both of you as well, I think. I think you can both get a lot out of this relationship, and I think one way or another it's going to be successful because you will both grow and learn so much. I think it has good long-term potential, I do. For most of you, this is going to be a long-term prospect as long as you're prepared to work on it. All right, it's not just going to magically happen by itself, although it feels magical at the moment, I think, for a lot of you. Very, very good potential on the longer term here. Very good. Oh, there it is. Sacred soulmate. Yeah, this is definitely a powerful soulmate relationship for you. So I think it's worth it. You may not, you know, you might decide you don't want to do the work, or you know, you can't be bothered, or I don't know, maybe it's not the right time in your life, and that's all right. But this is a powerful soulmate. This is a very, very powerful potential relationship to go long term for you. So I'm very hopeful for you, Pile 1. This is looking good. Keep doing your work. Keep working on yourself. Keep working on your anxieties, on your fears. If you come from past abuse and trauma or neglect, then please do work on that as well, because that's going to make such a big difference to the dynamics of the relationship. But this one's looking good. I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you. Okay. This is a positive, very positive reading. I want to reassure you. Yes, there will be bumps along the way. There definitely will be some bumps along the way. It can be a little bit turbulent at times, okay? But yes, the long-term potential is there for you if you want it. So please do remember to subscribe to the channel. Please do leave me a like on this video if you enjoyed this video. Please also leave me a comment. I love to hear what you have to say if there's something that you would like to share with us all. And I will see you all again very soon. Hello, Pile 2. You've chosen the pile of cards with the Hematite crystal. We shall pop her over here. And let's take a look at your cards. So to begin with, we have the 6 of Autumn, the 7 of Spring, and the 6 of Summer. Okay. Right. So 2 6s and a 7. Interesting energy. It could be that you're actually comparing this relationship to your parents' relationship, or how you imagined relationships would be when you were growing up. Maybe you were small. You know, we have some interesting ideas about what relationships are supposed to look like when we're little, don't we? Let's have a look here. Yeah. There could be a connection with work with this person as well. This could be somebody you actually met through the workplace, I feel. I also feel like, yeah, I feel like you need to assert yourself a little bit more in this relationship, Pile 2. I feel that maybe the other person has the upper hand, or you feel like they have the upper hand, or you feel like the energies aren't quite balanced, because there is a little bit of to and fro here. With these 2 6s, it's almost like a seesaw, almost like a bit of a power struggle going on here. So I feel you may actually have to stand up for yourself a little bit more if this is going to go on the longer term, if this is going to go smoothly. And I'm sensing for some of you there could be a little bit of codependency going on here. It could be a bit of yeah, it may not be the healthiest dynamic at this time. Okay, that's not to say that you can't improve things, but it's a bit of a strange dynamic that I'm looking at here. It's a little bit uncomfortable. I feel like you're not completely, either you or them, you're not completely in the real world when it comes to this relationship. It feels as though you're kind of in a bit of a dream, in a bit of a dream world. Maybe you're not seeing things clearly for what they really are. And I think it's possible that when it comes to arguments or disagreements, it could be that the other person, or one of you, I think it's probably the other person, but one of you isn't being honest about your part in things. It feels almost like someone's playing victim, perhaps, or maybe even gaslighting the other person. You know, there's like a lack of honesty. There's a lack of honesty coming through here, but it's almost like a power struggle, which makes me think about gaslighting. Gaslighting being, you know, telling lies and lying about things that happen to make the other person doubt their sense of reality so that you can control them. It's a very manipulative thing that people with narcissistic tendencies tend to do. It's a very unkind thing to do as well. Very cruel form of mind games. It's not a nice thing at all. And I'm sensing something of a distance here as well between you. Yeah, that there is a bit of a distance. It feels almost a little bit awkward, a bit uncomfortable, bit of an uncomfortable distance. Remember, this is a group reading, so take what resonates for you and leave the things that don't make sense. But I think, at least for some of you, there's some distance here. It may be actual physical distance. It may be literally that this is a long-term relationship. Long-distance relationship. Yeah, a long-distance relationship. Or maybe you think it's a long-term relationship, but you're not sure if they think it's going to be a long-term relationship. There's definitely a lot of uncertainty coming out here with the energy. A lot of uncertainty, kind of feels unbalanced in many ways. It feels like you're not sure, you're not certain. This is a difficult energy to be in, pile 2. So let's take a look at some more cards, see what we can see a little bit more clearly for you here, see how we can help you. So we've got number 1, manifest. Number 9, seek. Number 11, detach. And number 7, daydreams and decisions. Now this is interesting because this is a non-traditional tarot deck, this particular one with these 4 cards. And these are all major arcana cards that have come out here. So there are some very, very big themes that are influencing your relationship. And what it seems to me is that you entered into this relationship, you know, really looking for that one person, looking for a long-term relationship. Perhaps you even manifested this relationship. But it does feel like it was intentional. There's a very intentional energy behind this relationship, but perhaps now you're not quite so sure. Okay, it might be you, maybe them, but I feel it's you. But somebody isn't quite so sure anymore, although it feels like you went into the relationship quite strong, but now there's definitely some distance. And with the detached card as well, again, it's that distance. It's emotional distance. It may actually be physical distance. You may be a long way away from each other for some reason. You may not be able to get to each other. You may be in different countries, you know, in different parts of the country, and maybe some physical impediment. I feel it's possible that there may be another partner involved as well for one of you, or even both of you, because I was sensing that one of you perhaps isn't free yet. All right, one of you is still married or still in a relationship, and that's why maybe some of the power struggles going on. It does feel like there's still someone in the background there. So I would be very certain about that. If you're not sure, if somebody's told you they've broken up with their previous partner, but oh, they're just still living there and it's not a big deal, I want you to be very certain about what's actually happened. Find out for yourself. Get very clear on that. Because there is some duplicity potentially in the energy here. Not for everyone, but I think it's really not straightforward. And my throat chakra is, excuse me, my throat chakra is playing up at the moment, which tells me that communication isn't as clear as it should be. It tells me that I feel like somebody isn't being completely honest in this situation. If it's you, then you can do something about it. If it's the other person, a little bit more difficult to do something about it, but you can still do your research. I want to say do your due diligence in this situation. That's what the advice that I want to give you, part 2. I want to say do your research. Speak to people who know this person. Make sure you know everything about them and that you're not being led up the garden path, not being misled. Because I'm concerned that for some of you, there's some duplicity here. It feels as though there's another person involved. Yeah, and another partner or a spouse, or maybe you think it's an ex, but they're not. Yeah, it's not quite as clear-cut as I would like it to be for you, pile 2. It's a bit of a difficult situation here. And that's not to say that it can't work out. Of course, it's not to say that it can't work out. Of course, lots of relationships begin when someone's already with somebody. You know, that's not uncommon. It's definitely a thing that happens, you know, happens every day. My throat chakra's still not happy. Yeah, but at the same time, I want to say be very realistic about what is actually happening. Okay, it's very easy to get swept off into a dreamland, into a dream world, imagining what it will be like when you are together. And if it is a long distance relationship, obviously we can go off in these wonderful stories in our head and create a whole relationship that doesn't actually exist. You know, we might obsess about the other person, or we might just fantasize about what our life is going to be like, and that may not be grounded in reality at all. So I would try to caution you from doing that. Okay, manifesting is one thing. Okay, manifesting, yes, absolutely, daydream about what your life could look like, but don't necessarily, don't get stuck in that dream, I want to say. Don't stay too attached to it. We can very much daydream about what we want the relationship to look like, and we can kind of get stuck in that daydream and very entrenched in it, and then we can sort of fool ourselves that that's actually what's happening when it isn't. Okay, and that's something that people who have a background of trauma or or emotional abuse, neglect, you know, we can go off into a little world of our own, all right? And then we can start to believe that that's actually what's happening, that that's reality, and it may not be. So I want to say, don't go off in a little world of your own, okay? Stay grounded, stay in the here and now, be very clear about what is and isn't happening, all right? Promises don't mean anything until they happen, okay? Anyone can promise things, talk is cheap. And I want you to be alert. I want you to be paying attention to what is actually reality at the moment, to what is actually happening, not to what you think is going to happen, or maybe you pulled some cards and you thought, oh, well, yeah, this is the one, so I'm just going to ignore all the terrible things that they're saying and doing and just focus on what I think the outcome should be for this situation. Okay, I want you to be very realistic in this situation, maybe a little bit cynical if necessary. It feels like perhaps there isn't enough cynicism coming in here. Very realistic. You may even want to speak to a friend and get a second opinion on this relationship. And I feel like you may have friends who've already kind of weighed in and said, actually, I'm not totally happy with how this person treats you. I'm not totally happy with what you've told me. I'm uncomfortable when you said they acted like this or reacted like that. I'm concerned for you. I want you to listen to the concerns of your friends, your family, the people who genuinely care about you. Okay, genuinely care about you, not people who are abusive, not people, you know, who may have traumatized you themselves in the past. Because again, a power struggle could come in between a partner and an abusive family member who both want to control you, for example. That's definitely a thing that you could have found in your relationships in the past, pile two. Okay, I don't want that for you. I don't want that for you now. I don't want that for you ever. Okay, but you may have a family member that tries to meddle, tries to control you as well here. Maybe that you were primed to, you know, to be manipulated right from an early age, and that's very sad. You know, that can be as a result of emotional abuse or neglect. So if you have any of that going on in your childhood, then, you know, please do the work that you need to do to heal yourself. And it's not an easy, quick path, but just be aware that it can make you a little bit more vulnerable in romantic relationships. And we want to change that. We want things to go well for you. So I'm actually going to bring in a few extra cards here. We have Solitude, Protection, and Shine from Within from the Fairy Oracle. So I kind of want to say, now again, so there's this whole theme of not being together or having time apart or being apart at the moment. So you may actually be taking a break from the relationship. You know, you might just have a physical distance between you or even an emotional distance. But being on your own isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it could really give you some perspective right now. It could make you feel safer, surer about who you are, clearer, give you more clarity about the situation, about the relationship, about yourself, who you are and what it is that you actually want. And that's kind of what I want to focus on for you. I want to say focus on you and your needs first, then the relationship can come second. I kind of almost want to put a pin in this relationship and say, can we put it to one side for a minute, because I want to focus on you. I feel like protection is needed for you. You know, obviously if you're in an unsafe situation, please get out of it. Please make sure that you're safe, that you're okay. Obviously this is a group reading, that won't be relevant for everybody, but if there's anyone out there who is in an unsafe situation, if you're frightened, get out. Okay, do what you have to do. Go to a safe place. Shine from within. Yeah. It's like I want to kind of draw out your good characteristics. I want to remind you what a good person you are, because I feel as though your self-esteem might have taken a little bit of a battering in this relationship, and that can happen in relationships where there's manipulation and we don't always see it at first. That's the thing, and that is the horrible thing, because very often we don't see it, especially if we're dealing with someone who is high in narcissistic traits. And I feel some of you may be involved with someone who's a bit narcissistic, okay, maybe a bit too much narcissistic. So I really want you to look at this situation very carefully indeed, okay, very, very carefully. All really isn't what it seems at the moment. I feel some of you could have been single for a long time as well before you met this person. So I want to say this definitely isn't last chance saloon, okay? This isn't your last chance to have a relationship to be happy. Absolutely not. All right, don't allow your energy to be preyed on like that. I want you to focus on all of your good traits and to build your self-esteem, build your self-worth up again, because it feels as though this relationship or perhaps past relationships have really knocked it down, and so you're not being your full self at the moment. There's this uncomfortable power struggle going on, like you're having to repress aspects of yourself or trying to fight for what you need. And And that's a very, very difficult situation to be in. And again, that's not to say that things can't improve, that you can't work on this together, okay, because that is always a possibility. Well, a lot of the time it's a possibility. It's not always possible to fix relationships, you know, particularly if we're dealing with someone who is difficult. But there's a lot of protection coming in here from the angelic and the fairy realms as well here for you. It looks as though your guides really want to protect you in this situation. They really want to take care of you. And I think your spirit guides may be trying to send you messages at the moment, maybe literally trying to send you information. And you must pay attention to the messages coming through from your guides at the moment. Pay attention to intuition. Don't override it and say, "Oh no, that can't be right. No. I don't believe that's right. I don't want to see that. I don't want to believe that." Pay attention to your intuition, because it will guide you correctly. So let's bring in the animal oracle cards here. So we have Nightingale spirit, love is all around. Parrot spirit, watch your words. Yes. Okay. So with 41.5, I mean, this is a lovely energy. And I want to say that you actually have other options from this person. I actually want to say to you, this is not your only option, this person. All right. It really feels like a very difficult situation. This feels like a difficult person to be in a long-term relationship with. Okay. It's always your decision, and I'm not here ever to tell you what to do. Okay. I will never presume to tell you what to do with your life. That's not my place. But I feel like there may be better options out there for you. There may be somebody who is perhaps better suited, perhaps kinder, perhaps more loving to you in some ways, perhaps ways that you haven't experienced before in the past. It may be time to actually let go of old patterns and move beyond this relationship to a healthier one, perhaps, to a better one, perhaps. Okay. Obviously, this, I will leave that up to you and to your wisdom to decide what you want to do next. But I want to advise caution in this situation. I want to advise caution. Go in very much with your eyes wide open. That's so important for you. And don't let your mind override your instincts. All right, because those of us, especially who came from difficult childhoods, we do let our mind override our instincts because that's how we survived. That's how we dealt with difficult situations. We had to do that so that, you know, we could stay alive in a difficult situation. So 45 parrot spirit, watch your words. Yeah, I want to say, yeah, communication definitely an issue here. But I want to say, don't show all your cards with this person. Don't show all your cards at once. All right. Because I'm sensing some manipulation. Possibly this is someone who might try to use information for their gain, which is immature at best and cruel at worst. It's manipulative, you know. It's unnecessary, and some people can outgrow that and learn not to do that anymore, and some people can't. But I want to say, don't just tell them everything about you. Don't give them all the ammunition. All right, don't give them all the information that they can use about you. Keep something for yourself. Keep some mystery in there as well. Keep them guessing a little bit, because I think that would be healthy in this situation. I think it would be in your benefit as well. You know, sometimes when we're in a relationship with someone who is manipulative, they try and find out everything that they can about us so that they can use it against us, which isn't very nice. Okay. And I want to say, be a little bit cautious. Use wisdom with what you share with them. Don't tell them everything. Don't tell them all your deep, dark secrets. Okay. I want you to use caution and use discernment here. All right. Even if they try and ask you, even if they ask you outright, I want to say, bollocks to social convention. You don't have to tell them anything you don't feel comfortable telling them. Okay, if you need to take some time out of this relationship and think about it, then it may be time to do that. Okay, if you need to step back and go, okay, I'm not sure if I want to do this. This person's proposed to me, or they want to take it to the next level. This person wants me to move in. I'm not totally comfortable with that. Listen to that instinct. Listen to that voice that's telling you caution, that's telling you to be careful, because that's the instinct protecting you. So let's bring in some romance oracle cards here. Let's see what we've got. See what we can do about this situation for you, pile 2. Okay. All right. So romantic getaway. Venus Aphrodite. That's nice. Fairy princess story. Ah. Flash in the pan. Stronger together. Okay. Right. So Right. Okay. So with our oracle cards, it's nice to see Venus Aphrodite come out. She came out for pile 1 as well. She does like to come out a lot actually when I do romance readings. So Goddess of Love is here supporting you. All right. She is here to help and protect you. If you need her guidance, you call on her. You ask her to step in and help you. She's here with all the wisdom. She understands relationships. She knows what to do. She will teach you. She will teach you more if you invite her in when you meditate. Invite her to guide you. Ask her for her wisdom, for her guidance. She will support you in this situation. You're not alone. And I do feel like that you have other options as well. I do feel like there is somebody else, or possibly even 2 other people that you could be with at this time. Okay, so I do want to touch on this card flash in the pan, because this is very quick energy here, and I feel it's possible that this relationship could just end like that at some point. It could suddenly come to an end, because it does have this very turbulent, unstable energy. Okay, so for some of you, this is not going to be a long-term relationship at all. Okay, for some of you, it's just not. You know, it may be a situation where you've already kind of semi-broken up, or you're taking a break. And it may just be that it's not quite the right blend of energies. You're not quite right for each other, because this is very, very challenging energy. And I want to talk about codependency as well. You may be actually holding on to this person when they're not the best person for you, because we have the Stronger Together card, which in its positive aspect is wonderful. But in its negative aspect, it can be being overly optimistic, refusing to see the bad things. It can be codependency. It can be clinging to somebody who isn't quite right, because we don't feel so strong when we're on our own. We feel afraid of being on our own. And again, we may have unrealistic expectations about what this is, you know, with the fairy princess story on 26/8. Yeah, we were expecting romance to look a certain way, so we're trying to sort of force it to look that way in our minds and go, no, everything's fine, la la la, I won't look at that, everything's fine. Again, that's what I was saying. I want you to be really, really realistic about the situation, pile 2. Be very clear about your situation. Obviously, I don't know your situation. This is a group reading, okay? The energy is very challenging here. Only you know the details of your romantic situation. Romantic getaway as well. This may be some of you that you actually met on holiday, I want to say, or there may be a holiday coming up and you're not sure if you should go. You know, you're not sure, oh God, is this person going to propose to me when I go, you know? Or am I going to find myself in an awkward situation? Are we going to fight? Is it going to be horrible? So there is a connection to vacation and holiday here as well, which is difficult. But it may be that you met this person on holiday as well. So it may just have been sort of like a holiday romance, and that's kind of not good energy to start with. It feels like that could just end up fizzling out like a flash in the pan, like gone. This isn't the best energy, so I'm sorry. I apologise if you were hoping that it would be. But I will always be honest with what I see in the cards. I don't like giving people false hope. Okay. Now, just because you've chosen pile 2 doesn't mean that this relationship can't work. All right. But it's challenging. This energy that I'm looking at here is so challenging. It's so difficult. This person feels difficult. This person feels like you would have to jump through hoops just to stay with them. Suddenly my breath is all going funny as well. I'm having trouble breathing, almost like, oh, I'm so exhausted, I can't breathe, you know. It's difficult. And I do want to honour the situation though. I do see that you're together for a reason, because we have the soulmate soul contract card on 22/4. So this is a sacred soulmate relationship, one way or another. And I always say, you've got to remember that just because somebody is a soulmate, because you have that soul contract connection, does not mean that you're supposed to be with them on the longer term. All right. Just because you have that connection that they, you know, you sense it, you feel it, doesn't mean you're supposed to be with them. Okay. It feels for some people that this is a relationship that's come up perhaps to complete some karma from a previous lifetime, perhaps to finish off a connection that wasn't quite finished, and you had some things to do, you had some unfinished business, you needed to meet back up again. And it may be just time to put that to bed now. But certainly there is a soul connection there, and I know that you feel that, but I just want to say, just because there is that connection doesn't mean that you have to be with them. We do have more than one soulmate. Okay, if you're not aware of that, I do believe that we have more than one soulmate. We actually have several, many for some of us in this lifetime, because things are really on fast forward at the moment. So we're kind of getting through a lot of karma very quickly in our lives at the moment. Things happen quite fast, which is why many of us have lots of different relationships, because we've got so much to do on an energy level. Right. What do you need to let go of? And I'm going to leave you with this question on 6511 too. So that comes in with great wisdom, but it's also the mind and the heart working together. Okay, so it's bringing together the amalgamation of the mind and heart to really think clearly about this. Allow your feelings to have their say as well, but allow the mind to be in there too. So what do you need to let go of? Okay, is it the relationship you need to let go of? Is it codependency you need to let go of? Is it bad habits? Is it fear that you need to let go of? There's certainly something to look at here. Is it an ex-partner? Are you hedging your bets with two people at the same time? But something has to change. Something has to change here, I feel, for this to be successful, for this to be able to move forwards at all. Because this is a very tangled web of energy that I'm looking at here. This is not an easy situation for you at all, pile 2. All right, you've got your work cut out here. Bring another couple of cards. Okay, Love Addicts Anonymous. Yeah. Grumble, grumble, passive aggressive. Okay. Oh dear. All right, yeah. Okay, so Love Addicts Anonymous on the 33-6. Now, 33-6 is the Christ consciousness, which in its positive aspect is great, very positive. But in its negative aspect is the reverse. It's kind of devil energy. And I don't mean that as in, oh no, this person's the devil. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it means that we can overindulge the senses, that we can come from a lower energy rather than a higher one, and that's not the best energy to be in. So again, Love Addicts Anonymous is about codependency. It's about being with people for the wrong reason. It's about falling in love too quickly and moving too fast as well, which I feel could be a pattern for some of you here. Oh, this is why I need you to look at this situation very, very carefully, perhaps with a trusted friend or a counsellor here, someone who can really give you good advice, not just some random person down the pub or something, you know, or even a friend who means well but doesn't really know about relationships, someone who really knows what they're talking about. Because there may be, this is what I was talking about, the power struggle. It can come through as passive aggressive behaviours where you kind of torture each other and you're cruel to each other and you try and get one up on the other. And that's a very uncomfortable energy to be in, and that absolutely has to be resolved. These 3 cards here, they have to be resolved if you're going to be able to move forwards with things. It's definitely not an easy energy at all, pile 2. This is a very, very challenging situation that you find yourself in. I think there are some ways through here, but you both have to be willing to work on it for this to actually work out. If you realise that you've actually found someone who is, you know, narcissistic or who is treating you badly, perhaps they might even be abusive, then you might want to think about stepping away from them in a way that's safe. Get yourself some support from a counsellor or from a trusted friend that you know you can rely on. But this is a very, very challenging energy. So with regards to the question which we're looking at here, which is, does this have long-term potential? I'm going to say probably not. It will do for some of you, but you're the lucky few, the ones who are prepared to work on it and have the other person prepared to work on it as well. Because I feel like for most of you watching, you would work on it, you would do what was necessary, but I'm not sure that the other person necessarily would. So take your courage in both hands here, pile 2. I know it's not the best reading, not the happiest thing to see. But if you're able to be sensible about this and look clearly at things, I think you'll find the right way through for you. So please do remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Do leave a like if you enjoy the video. Please do share any thoughts you have in a comment as well, because I'm always receptive. I love to hear what you have to say. I'm always very, very interested to see how I can help you. And I will see you very soon. Remember, you can also pick a second pile if another one resonated for you as well. Okay, don't try and look for an alternative answer. All right, that's a very bad thing to do. Never do that. Don't try and look for a different answer, because if you don't like this one, that won't help you, won't help me. Okay. Be realistic and ask Venus Aphrodite to help you. You take very good care of yourself. Hello, pile 3. You've chosen the reading with the orange carnelian crystal. We're going to put this over here and let's take a look at your first cards here. So we have the Princess of Winter, the Queen of Autumn, and the Wheel. Okay, interesting place to start. Just kind of feel, I want to say first of all, it feels like all bets are off at the moment. It's almost like You might find yourself in a little bit of an unlikely situation right now, maybe one you thought you'd never find yourself in. Maybe it's somebody that you were not expecting to be involved with, or you never dreamt that you might be involved with this sort of person or with this type of person. Yeah, it's curious. It's a very, very curious energy here. But it does feel like this is a very potent relationship. It's quite a slow energy coming in, which is why I'm not talking as fast as I do sometimes. It's quite a slow energy coming in, like it's coming in gently and slowly. Sort of, there's a bit of a build up with this relationship. It's going gently, step by step. I think it's quite practical as well. I feel one or both of you are really quite practical people, and you're just trying to make the best of the situation. And that's no bad thing, you know, but it does feel like something has to change, something has to give at the moment. And with the wheel energy, this is, in a traditional tarot deck, this would be the Wheel of Fortune. There is definitely an opportunity to spin the wheel and see what happens next, to make some different choices. I feel like the energy might be a little bit slow or perhaps a bit stagnant at the moment. And I kind of feel like I want to help spice things up a little bit for you at the moment. I also feel quite tired when I tune into the energy for pile 3 because, oh, I just feel shattered all of a sudden. So I'm wondering if there's a lot of exhaustion for you or for the other person, or if you're just exhausted generally with life at the moment. I don't know that it's necessarily the relationship making you feel like that, but it could be affecting the relationship insofar as you just don't have the energy to make some positive changes, or maybe be the partner that you would like to be in this situation, or maybe they don't have the energy to do that either. And it feels like you're trying to make allowances for each other at the moment, but it's just not an easy time. It feels like a tricky time, a difficult time. Maybe you're working a little bit too much. Maybe one of you has some financial goals or some career goals which are really having to take centre stage at the moment, and you're having to be intensely practical about things. You know, maybe you're both, or one of you is trying to get out of a marriage or a current relationship with children or something a little bit complicated like that, and that has to take precedence. Of course, children have to come first, don't they? But I don't get any red flags about that at the same time, but I feel that's a possibility for some of you, pile 3. Obviously, this is a group reading, so that won't be the case for everybody. So always take what resonates, take what makes sense for you, and leave the bits that don't, because that's not for you. Yeah, it's an interesting one here. And again, I'm having trouble breathing here a little bit. This can happen to me sometimes in readings, and it's just how my guides communicate. Sometimes through physical sensation, they'll do that to me, and I'm a little bit breathless as I look at this one. So again, there could be some issues to do with health here. It could be that one of you has, or both of you have, some health issues that need to be looked at first before you can sort of get on and do all the exciting stuff. It does feel like maybe this relationship wasn't kind of the exciting, romantic, swept off your feet energy at the beginning, and maybe you would have liked it to be, but you haven't been able to really experience that full-on honeymoon phase. Or maybe you haven't had it yet, and I think that could be to come. So let's bring in some more cards here. So we have number 1, Lover Bounds, 18, Confront, 21, Embrace, and 9, Darkest Fears. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that is quite a challenging energy. I see that. And it's interesting to look at. I mean, this isn't necessarily a bad spread. Okay, some of the cards can look a bit scary sometimes, but I don't think this is a negative thing that we're looking at here. I think we're looking at opportunity. I think we're looking at an opportunity for healing, an opportunity for growth, for personal growth, emotional growth, because this relationship actually began with a real potential, the very powerful potential here with number 1, Lover Bounds. In a traditional tarot deck, this is the Ace of Cups. This is a true connection. This has a lot of potential. Okay. And you may have sensed at the beginning that it had long-term potential, you know, and you may be looking at some things now and wondering if that's still the case. But it does feel like this person has come into your life because they're here to help you to reassess some of your emotions, some of your past relationships, perhaps issues from childhood. It feels very much like this relationship is bringing up issues to actually be dealt with, to be healed. And a lot of relationships do that. Not all of them, but some are particularly potent at bringing up some of our issues, particularly if we find someone who is very suitable for us, who is very compatible with us, I want to say. And I do see a strong compatibility here. It kind of almost feels like circumstances are just a little bit difficult at the moment. I don't feel like you're incompatible. I feel like you've just got a lot on your plates at the moment, or at least one of you has a lot on their plate at the moment. And that could be making it difficult, especially, you know, if one of you is in counselling at the moment, going through some stuff, perhaps trying to get away from an ex-partner, maybe a little bit I get the word entangled there. Maybe one of you is still entangled with an ex-partner, perhaps because of children being involved in the situation, or even pets. You know, our families don't necessarily involve just human beings. You know, they could be dogs and cats, or other animals there too, horses, you know. Definitely not the easiest of energies that we're looking at though here. And it's a shame, because I can see that you would like to take this forwards. I can see that on paper this relationship can potentially offer you everything that you want. And I think there is a very strong potential that this one could go the distance, but it's bringing up a lot of old fears for you here. And that's what you need to be looking at. It's almost like it's kind of a bittersweet energy, because we've kind of got a nice card, a difficult card, a nice card, a difficult card. It's kind of peppered in there, highs and lows. So there could have been some high highs and low lows with this one, but not. I don't feel like this is a dramatic relationship. I don't feel like you're with a drama queen. You know, that's not what I'm sensing here. I'm not getting drama queen energy. I think you're both trying very hard at this relationship. I think you're both doing the best that you can, but I think you both have a lot on your plate, and that could be healing from past emotional hurts, from trauma, from abuse. It could be that you've got challenges at work. I think money is definitely an issue. Money and work is an issue here. So you're just having to do the things that you have to do to get by. But because of that, because it is taking some time, I think that could really be bringing up some old fears in you or in the other person, or both. Fears about whether this is going to work out, fears about whether the other person's going to leave or step away, or whether this is right, you know, because it feels like quite a challenging energy, and you might be questioning whether this is the right person for you. And I actually want to say, try and look at things with a very pragmatic eye, and see what's actually going on here, because this is a very powerful connection. This is a beautiful connection. And I feel potentially this one could go the distance. I have a good feeling here. Yes, there are some fears to overcome, but I want to bring in some reassurance for you here. I do. I want to remind you that things can change and evolve over time. It won't always be how it is right now. Okay, the difficulties will pass. This too shall pass. I want you to hold on to that saying if you need it. Remind yourself as often as you need to. This too shall pass. Difficulties pass. Okay, nothing stays exactly the same forever, and that's a good thing. You know, we wouldn't want it to. We can't stay high and happy, super happy forever, because that'd be exhausting, and we can't stay down and low forever, because that would just be impossible, and that would be awful. I am quite positive here for you. I'm just going to have a look at the numbers. So we've got 1, 18, 9, 21, 3 and another 9 there. So yes, this is definitely a learning relationship. There's a lot of wisdom that can come out of this partnership for both of you, I feel. But there's a very strong potential here for change for both of you. This is a transformational situation with the Wheel of Fortune on that transformational 10-1. This is a transformational relationship, and it feels like you're about to reach a point, maybe a fork in the road, where you have to make some decisions and choices about how you move forwards together, and whether you want to move forwards together. Okay, and again, that could be bringing up some fears. You might think, oh no, this person has been offered a job in another country. What's going to happen? You know, it's maybe bringing up old insecurities here. But I do feel like there is a way through. I do want to say I feel like there is a way through here. Because I feel like you can overcome obstacles in this situation. Let's bring in the Fairy Oracle cards here. So we have Come Together, Hidden Depths, and Look in a Book. Wonderful. Yeah. So I want to say work together on this. Work together. If you have fears, if you have insecurities, talk about them, work together, come together, form a united front, because I feel like you're two people who actually work incredibly well together. I feel when you're faced with difficulties, you can get through them together. Okay, you work incredibly well. You're incredibly compatible. yes, there's a lot coming up for you from hidden depths at the moment. There's a lot coming up emotionally. There may be old stuff coming up, old traumas coming up, things that you'd even forgotten about coming up to be healed, coming up to be looked at. This is some deep emotion. She's standing in deep water there. This is deep, deep emotion to be looked at, to be dealt with that lovely green colour. So it's the green of the heart that's involved here. Heart healing is absolutely crucial. It may be necessary on a physical level. So if either of you has any heart issues at the moment, make sure you're seeing a doctor if you've got any concerns about your heart health. Yeah, make sure you're getting the right advice, getting the right medical advice. And again, it could be a medical issue that's actually getting in the way at the moment, but I do feel like you two can power through this. I do. It may be worth actually studying, researching, getting more information about relationships or about healing or about whatever subjects you need to be looking into at the moment, because I do feel like you're somebody who is quite studious. I do feel like you would get a lot out of reading or research. You may really enjoy books. Bit of a bookworm, you know, like I am myself. I get it. It's great. But I do feel like, yeah, some sort of study, learning can actually take your relationship forwards. And that's something that you can do together. You can learn about relationships together. You know, it doesn't have to be a contest. In fact, a relationship shouldn't be a competition. It's something where we work together. And if it is a competition, that's a very toxic dynamic to have. But I don't feel that for you. That's not what I'm seeing. But I do think there is a lot to come up here. I feel like there is a lot perhaps that you need to share with each other. Perhaps there's a lot that you don't know about each other from your past. And I feel slowly and gently this will kind of come out. And maybe you're worried that if this person finds out this stuff about you from your past, they're not going to want to be with you anymore. But I don't think that's the case. I think they may have some of their own stuff from their past that they're not proud of either, or that they're ashamed of, or just very sad about. I think you probably have more in common than you realise, and I think your shadow is very similar to each other as well, even if you're not aware of that just yet. I think you will be in due time, in due course. Because you do seem like quite a strong couple. For some of you, you're literally a power couple, okay? Some of you, you're literally a power couple. What have we got here? Rhino spirit, overcome any obstacle. Yeah, what I just said. And 60, swan spirit, time for a deep dive. Yeah, yeah. This is some strong numerology here as well. 50 and 60, very powerful numbers, bringing huge potential, but potential to the heart and to the mind for healing, and for growth and for change and for moving in a new direction together. But yes, you do have to look at the past. You can't run from it. All right. You must be looking at your past right now. And this could be karmic as well. These could be issues coming up that you don't understand why, you know, you have anxiety or fear or depression about something. You don't understand where it came from. There may be no logical explanation for this lifetime because you may have brought it in from a previous lifetime. This may be karmic. It may be ancestral karma through your family line, something that you've inherited that is coming up for you to clear for the family line. Especially for any women watching, I feel there could be some ancestral karmic issues coming up here to do with relationships, specifically to do with empowerment, female empowerment, I want to say. But like I said, overcome any obstacle with the rhino spirit. There's kind of some Ganesh energy coming through here as well. Obviously Ganesh is the elephant-headed god, but it does feel like you can charge through, you can power through this together. I'm very positive for you here. This looks like there is a great opportunity here to take this relationship forwards. And it is always going to be your decision whether you choose to do that or not. Okay, I can only look at the energy. I can't tell you what you're going to do because that's up to you. That's your decision. But I think you've got a very good opportunity here. I think you have a really good chance to take this to the longer term if you're prepared to work together, if you're prepared to look honestly at your shadow, to look honestly and I want to say without judgment at your own shadow and at the other person's shadow as well. And by shadow, I mean the unhealed aspects of self, the darker aspects of self that can give us bad habits, make us react in certain ways that are undesirable. If you can integrate that shadow together, and I want to go back to the come together card here, integrate that shadow together. I think some of your issues are very similar, and I think that's why you were so drawn to each other, because you are very, very similar in a lot of ways. It's quite an interesting dynamic, a very interesting dynamic to look at, which speaks to me of a powerful soulmate bond. And possibly even some twin flame energy coming in for some people here as well. So I just want to add the caveat that we shouldn't get too hung up on the words twin flame, twin flame, because as human beings, we don't fully understand what that means, okay, and what the implications are. But it's definitely twin flame energy, even if this person isn't your twin flame per se. And the truth is, we don't totally understand twin flames, all right? So it doesn't mean that this is the best person for you and no one else ever will be, all right? But there is some twin flame energy going on here. So that is something to think about, something to be aware of. So let's bring in some romance. Oh, romance oracle cards. No, we can't have all of those. Okay, there's a lot trying to come out there. It feels like they've got a lot to tell you. They've got a lot to say because there's lots of cards trying to jump out all at once here. So let's start here. What do you need to let go of? 6511-2. Yeah. Okay, what do you need to let go of? And I feel like this is some old emotional patterns, some old thought patterns, old unhelpful thought patterns, negative thought patterns that perhaps you do need to let go of. Get out of the habit of saying things to yourself like, oh, I'm so stupid, can't believe I did that. You know, many of us can be really horrible to ourselves when we're in a monologue. We're really rude and we say terrible things that we would never say to anybody else. But we're in these bad habits of saying them to ourselves, which can be really, really hurtful, really harmful. So I have flash in the pan on 16. And I feel that's one of the fears here. I don't feel like this is a flash in the pan relationship. Okay, I'm not sensing that for you, pile 3. All right, I'm feeling the opposite. I'm feeling there's a fear that it might be and you don't want it to be. Okay, but I don't feel like it is. I feel like it is bringing in an opportunity for growth and change. And sometimes you're going to feel a little bit out of control with that. Like you're not... I feel like some of you may really be control freaks. I feel like I've got a lot of earth signs watching this. You know, you may have a lot of earth in your astrology, you know, in your big 3, your sun sign, moon sign, or ascendant. And it may feel very uncomfortable. But I want to say that's okay. It's not the end of the world. All right, it's not the end of the world. If anything, it's a really good thing when somebody brings up stuff for us to look at, for us to heal. You know, that's a very, very positive thing. That's a wonderful thing that our soulmates do for us. They bring us the opportunity to heal and grow. But I feel like this person is in your life to help you heal and grow and stay with you while you do it, to help support you, to help support each other throughout that endeavour. Sweets, chocolates and roses. Oh, that's sweet. Okay. Children and family. Love and money, love of money. Okay, right. There's definitely some fears here. There are some fears. I feel there could be an age gap for some people here as well, because this card, love and money, love of money, can sometimes indicate... this can kind of be gold digger energy sometimes, and I'm not saying that's you or the other person. I'm absolutely not saying that, but some people might perceive this relationship as such. There may be a disparity financially between you, or when it comes to age, and so there may be some judgment coming in from other people, which is very, very unhelpful. And I just want to say, put other people's judgment to one side, because it's none of their damn business. All right, they can mind their own business on this one. This is your relationship. This is between you. And the energy is very sweet. Sweet chocolates and roses. It's adorable. It's a very sweet kind of old-fashioned romance coming through here. And I feel like one or maybe both of you perhaps aren't very experienced when it comes to relationships. So maybe one of you is a little bit old-fashioned, and maybe, you know, maybe that's the energy, or it might be that you're literally a generation apart. Maybe there is a bit of an age gap going on there, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. All right, you know, that doesn't have to be an issue. For lots of people, it isn't an issue at all. And I do want to say that it's actually quite harmonious energy, all right? And I want you to let go of some of these fears, some of these judgments from other people, which are really unhelpful. But these judgments as well can show you where you have insecurities and what you have to heal within. Because how other people treat us is actually a reflection of how we feel and what we believe about ourselves at a deep level. So it can show us what we have to heal. And once we heal those aspects of self, people generally stop treating us that way, and their relationships with us can change and evolve. How they act towards us, you know, people who were perhaps unkind or rude can suddenly stop being unkind or rude when we've healed that aspect of self, or they might just disappear altogether and just stop talking to you, which can be equally nice if they were an unpleasant person. So this isn't a bad energy. This is pretty good. But again, we've got 18. It's the 18 energy here, which we had with the confront card. So there's another 18-9 coming in there. So there is an opportunity for wisdom here, absolutely. But there is a connection to children and family. So it may be, again, that there are some financial issues connected to children which are sort of coming between you at the moment. Maybe one of you has to pay alimony or spousal maintenance or something to an ex-partner or to children, and that can be causing some issues. It can be bringing up some fears or some insecurities in one or the other of you, and that's okay. You know, it's completely normal. I don't think anyone feels totally okay in that situation. It's always going to be a little bit uncomfortable. You know, with the best will in the world, it's a little bit uncomfortable for most people. Okay. Long-term relationship. Yeah, I see it too. Be practical. Okay. Pick me. And anxiety and fear. Yeah. Oh, this is such a lovely spread, actually. It really is. Yes, you have work to do. Of course you do. I mean, who doesn't in relationships? But we've got the long-term relationship card here on 28-10-1. So I feel like this relationship, yes, I feel this very much could go for the long term. This could go to marriage if you want it. You know, if you both want that. You might not want to get married. You might, you know, just want to live together or just be in a long-term relationship, however it works for you. But there is certainly an opportunity to bring longevity to this situation and also transformation to both of your lives. So I feel like you're very much together for a reason. I feel like you have a very good chance to go long-term with this one. Yes, you do have to be quite practical about it. And I do want to bring in your practical mind here because there's a lot of fear and anxiety that could be going on, that could be getting in the way. Because yes, there are going to be big changes in your life. There are going to be some big changes in both of your lives, and I don't think that's optional. I feel like energetically the universe has got some big change coming up for you, and it's just going to be a case of choosing which direction or which path you take with it, because change has to happen. Major life changes coming in for both of you here. I'm not going to say whether you like it or not, because that's not quite where I want to go with this energy. It is coming, all right? It's not optional right now. Major life changes coming one way or another. But I feel like this person really wants to be with you. Pick me, pick me. It's like Donkey from Shrek, pick me. Yeah, there's a call to adventure here as well. There's a real, come on, let's be together. We can do this. We can have fun together. Yeah, there's a real desire, a genuine desire from the other person to be with you here. And I just want to reassure you of that. If you've got any fears or insecurities about this other person, I feel like they genuinely want to be with you. Things aren't perfect, but it's nothing you can't work through together. As long as you're practical about it, you approach it in a sensible manner, I feel like this can really move forwards very nicely. And those fears about it fizzling out or, you know, you being dumped or something, I think you do need to disregard those, put those to one side. Okay, if you want this to work, you need to be very clear on what you want and not focusing on what you don't. Okay, so we're going to put this down here. Let's just turn it over. We don't even want to look at that energy. Okay, stay focused on what you want. Keep your eyes on the prize. All right, keep your eyes on the prize. Stay focused on the outcomes that you want in this relationship. Focus on heart healing. And I said this earlier, but focus on heart healing. Focus on working with the heart chakra. You can do that with Reiki, you can do that with spiritual healing, with crystals, green candles. I'm very drawn to malachite crystal for you. That's this crystal here. I do talk about this one a lot because it's a powerful heart healer. Work with this one, just hold it in your left hand for a time and see how you feel, and then put it down again. I don't recommend wearing jewellery with malachite on because it's just a little bit too strong for a lot of people, because the healing it brings in can be very, very powerful and it can be overwhelming. So I'd say usually don't hold it for more than like 30 minutes. You know, if it gets uncomfortable, put it down. But heart healing is absolutely crucial here for both of you, for the longevity of this relationship, and for you to take things forwards as well, for the good of this relationship and any relationships you have in the future, because you might choose not to stay in this one, and that's okay. That's absolutely up to you. But I do feel like it will be your choice. Okay, I don't want you to be afraid or worried about this. I feel like it will be your choice. It will be your option if you want to stay in this relationship or not. And of course, if you have any physical heart issues, please make sure you go to the doctor, whichever one of you it is. If it's a physical issue, get it sorted out. take care of yourself, take care of your heart. It wants to be loved and it wants to love as well. So I have a really good feeling for you, pile 3. I'm very positive for you. Yes, you have some work to do, but you can absolutely do it, and you are the right person to get through this too. So please do remember to subscribe to the channel. Please do leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment if there's something you'd like to share. I do love to read your comments, of course. And I will see you in the next video. You take very good care of yourself. Hello, pile 4. You've chosen the pile of cards with the pale amethyst crystal here, which is quite an interesting one. We're going to pop this here, and let's take a look at your first cards. So we have the 6 of spring, number 7, the chariot, and we have the Queen of winter. All right. Some interesting energies coming in here. Lots of movement as well. Look, on each one of these cards there's movement and travel. This lady's on a horse. This lady's driving a chariot pulled by dragonflies, which is quite fun. And this lady's on a sled. So there's a very moving, very fluid energy coming through here with regards to this relationship. And it might be that things might be moving a little bit too quickly for you. But it does feel like movement. Yeah, it's not a static energy, it's not a still energy, and that may be why you're asking the question about whether this has long-term potential, because it might seem to be moving a little bit fast. But it does come in with a very positive energy. It comes in with a very nice, loving energy. It feels like there's great balance here as well of the energies between the two of you. Yeah. And I feel for you, pile 4, you might actually be questioning whether this is a relationship that you want to be in, whether you want to move forwards with this one at the moment. Maybe you want to put the brakes on. Maybe you want to slow things down a little bit. Maybe it's going a little bit too fast for you. Maybe you're not used to things going well. So you're struggling with this relationship because it might be that everything seems fine, and that might be really unnerving you at the moment. It might be that you're still recovering. I feel some of you are still recovering from a previous relationship, maybe from a divorce. You're still putting yourself back together. And although this relationship started in a really nice, loving way, it might just be a little bit too much at the moment. So partly the question you're asking is will this person wait for me? Will they go at the pace I want them to go at? Remember, this is a group reading, so that won't apply to everybody. So take what resonates, take what makes sense for you, and leave what doesn't. Okay, but there's definitely an energy of movement here, perhaps of going too fast, and there is some tiredness as well in the system. As I look at these cards, I kind of want to yawn, because again, I'm tired. It feels like maybe you've been through a lot, maybe it's been going too fast and you just want to step off. It's like, stop the world, I want to get off energy at the moment. I just need a break. I just need to catch my breath, and then I can decide where I'm going with this relationship. And I feel that you may be somebody who's very successful as well in your work life and your career. I think you're very successful. You're very capable of making things happen. Perhaps you're quite a high profile person. Perhaps, I mean, it could be the other person that's successful and high profile, but I feel that definitely one of you is in this situation. And again, those considerations to do with work could be getting in the way of the relationship, making you question, making you wonder whether it's the right moment for a relationship. Is this the right time? You know, never mind, is it the right person? Is it the right time? You know, we can meet the right person at the wrong time, or what seems to be the right person at completely the wrong time. So let's bring in some more cards here, see what we're dealing with. So we've got number 13, release. Number 8, moving on. Number 1, new vitality. And another number 8, helpless and hopeless. Okay, well, that explains the exhaustion. With those 2 8s there, 8 can be a very exhausting energy, a very hard-working energy, but also can bring great abundance and great success at work or in business. So that would seem to make sense here. But it does feel like it is time for you to move forwards in your relationship. You might be resisting a little bit here. You might be dragging your feet, dragging your heels, going, I don't know, I'm not sure about this. It may be bringing up some old fears for you. But I do want to say that this feels like a positive connection for you, and it may well be time to let go of the past. There's a lot of hurt and old relationships to let go of here. It's very much time to do kind of like an emotional audit, I want to say. Let go of those old hearts. Oh, okay, interesting. If there are any exes you're still in contact with, it may be time to let go of them now. Okay, if there is anyone that you're kind of keeping on the back burner because you're not sure, let go of that person. Or if someone else is keeping you on the back burner, let go of that person. All right, bring it down to one, simplify your life, make it so there's only one person on your plate at the moment. Okay. Anyone else who's sort of confusing the energy with their heart being involved, even if it's in a small capacity, that needs to go, that those ties need to be cut. You might want to do some sort of tie cutting ceremony, something to actually let go of old ties, old hooks from old partners. You may have a partner who's a friend and they still kind of want to be with you, but you allow them to be a friend, which might not be a healthy dynamic at all. You could really be pulling them off course when they need to be moving forwards, and it can be pulling your energy out of this relationship into this kind of pseudo friendship with this person here. So be very clear about who you're giving your energy to at the moment. Very, very clear. You're not doing somebody a favour by letting an ex stay a friend with you. If one of you still has feelings, you're not doing them a favour by letting them still be friends with you if they're hoping it could be more than that one day. It's very much time to let go of what no longer serves you, what's going to be getting in the way of the long-term relationship, of this potential relationship here, which is the one we really want to focus on because it looks very good. And it's interesting to me that we've got releasing cards at each side here. So we've got this one here, which is release, letting go. In the traditional tarot deck, it's the death card. So it is literally about letting go of things that no longer serve, leaving chapters of your life behind which are closed, which should remain closed, which should be closed off. And this one, which is also the Queen of Winter, she is also about letting go of things that no longer serve you, decluttering emotionally, decluttering mentally, decluttering physically your house if things that you need to change, things that you need to get rid of, to sell, to give away, to give back to people. Perhaps there are things that maybe you hang on to too much stuff. Maybe it's time to move some stuff along. Okay, give it to somebody else, give it to charity, sell it, get rid of it. It feels like there's a lot of emotional clutter, and that can often go along with physical clutter as well. Even if you think you're tidy, you may have a cluttered drawer somewhere you've forgotten about, or you secretly don't tell people about, or a storage unit or something. I've seen that. The tidiest people have this beautiful house, and then they've got this messy storage unit somewhere, and energetically that takes a toll on you, so it might be something to sort out. Yeah, but this relationship certainly has the potential to take you forwards, to actually bring in huge improvements for you in your life. I want to say improvements to your health, to your mental health, to your well-being as well. I feel like this person can really encourage you to be your best self, to be a better person, to be more confident. Okay, and I think because of that, maybe you feel less than, maybe you feel less than them. Maybe you feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough for this person. Okay, maybe you're feeling like, I'm not the one in control here, even if that's not true. All right, you may feel like, oh no, they've really got the upper hand, even if that's not true. All right, you might think that they have. You might think like you're the lesser party in this relationship. And I just want to put you straight on that and say that's absolutely not the case. That's absolutely not the case here. That's not what I'm seeing at all. This is quite a harmonious energy. In fact, I think you work quite well together. I think you will do well together. I think you will bring a lot to each other. I also think you're quite different people in many respects. You're really quite different. There's kind of a chalk and cheese energy that comes through to me here. Like you're very different energies from each other, but you complement each other beautifully. It's a very nice complementary energy here. So don't be down on yourself if you feel less than the other person, or if you feel inferior to them in some way, shape or form. You're not inferior, you're just different. Oh, it could be the other way around. It could be them that feels inferior, but you're not, you're just different. And you must reassure each other, because there is a real powerful potential for longevity with these two eights here. Okay, you turn 8 on its side and you've got the infinity symbol, and that's no coincidence. Number 8 in numerology is connected to longevity, to infinity. So you really can move forwards together, and there is this very fluid energy. So it might be that you're feeling pressured to actually make some decisions at this point. And I think you can do that. But there are some things you need to let go of. You need to declutter your mind, your heart, maybe even your house, so that you can make those decisions, so that you can move forwards. And I just want to remind you that when you may not have heard this before, but when you declutter your house, when you get rid of stuff, that will have a knock-on effect to your energy. Energetically, you're doing a clearing when you get rid of some items that maybe are connected to an old relationship or were given to you by someone you don't really like. You want to get rid of their energy from your life. That can be a really good way to do it, actually get rid of those items. You don't have to destroy them. You can sell them or give them away, you know, give them to charity, give them to a friend, give them to someone who needs or deserves them. But there is this decluttering to be done so that you can move forward, so you can fully benefit from your partner's energy, so that they can bring you all of the gifts that they want to give you. Because I feel like they want to be a very supportive influence in your life, but you might not be letting them at the moment. You might be feeling disempowered, thinking, oh no, I don't want someone else to do all of these things for me. I want to be independent. I want to be self-sufficient. And you are. But you might have been too independent for too long. It might be okay now to actually accept some help from somebody. You know, you don't have to do everything for yourself. Partnerships are about being in partnership. The clue's in the name. And certainly this is something that I've struggled with in my lifetime, you know, not wanting to rely on anybody else, not wanting to put myself in a position of what I considered to be perhaps weakness, not wanting to make myself vulnerable. That can be very frightening, very scary, feeling vulnerable when you let somebody else support you, because all of a sudden you're no longer completely in control, and you might feel like you want to retain that control. But I want to tell you, it's safe. You don't have to do that. You don't have to retain so much control. You can let go of some of that control now. Let go of some of the reins. Okay. Let your partner help you. Let them support you. You know, it may be that you want to have children, but you don't want them to support you, and that can be a very challenging dynamic. It can be very, very difficult not wanting someone else to help and support you, because you want to feel like you've still got agency and you're still in charge. And that comes from trauma. That comes from, you know, unhealed thought patterns, unhealed hurts from the past, because that doesn't have to be the case. Someone can take care of you in a very loving and safe way. And I want to say it's safe to let your partner take care of you. It's safe. You're okay. You don't have to be a control freak anymore. Yes, things are moving maybe a little bit beyond your comfort zone, but that doesn't mean that you can't heal and move with that energy too. And if the universe is nudging you forwards, it has its reasons for that as well. It will push us out of our comfort zone so that we can heal. You know, we don't heal when we're in our comfort zone. We have to be shoved out of it to actually do that healing. And this is why, again, the energy is pushing you along, moving you along, making you move into a new era, I want to say. So let's bring in some fairy oracle cards here. We have celebration. We have find balance. There we go. And moderation. Yes. Yes. Balance and moderation in all things. Okay. Now, sometimes this can be connected to addictions, but I don't feel that for most of you. There may be a couple of people out there may be some issues with addictions coming up, but for most of you I feel like this is about finding balance between you and the other person. Okay, balance and moderation. And what I was saying about not controlling everything quite as much, it's not a contest, it's not a competition. You don't have to try and earn as much as the other person, or earn more than the other person, or be more self-sufficient than the other person. You know, you both bring different qualities to the relationship, because I feel like you are quite different people. You bring different things to the relationship, and all things are equally valid. There's a very loving relationship. I feel like one of you is kind of the fun one, and you bring the fun to the other person. You bring the light-hearted energy to the other person, and you both need that. You know, you are different, and you bring great energy, great vitality to each other. You help to jolly each other on, keep each other going. And I think in some ways you're already indispensable to each other. I think imagining your life without this person would be quite difficult, quite upsetting for both of you. You have a beautiful dynamic here. I really like what I'm seeing. It's a very, very nice energy, but it must be balanced. You have to, I want to say that you probably have to stop trying to control everything quite as much. You have to let the other person make decisions too, allow yourself to be vulnerable. And that could be something that's very, very difficult for you. Allow yourself to kind of take a load off, enjoy yourself. Yeah, without falling into victimhood, without falling into sort of a child energy where you look to the other person to do everything. Find that balance where you're both doing your fair share, both doing your part, everything in moderation here, everything in moderation. So we'll bring in the animal oracle. We have deer spirit, bring a gentle touch, yes. And dog spirit, be loyal to what you love. Oh, that's lovely, 18 and 19. Really beautiful, gentle energy coming in here. So it feels like your spirit guides want to be very, very gentle with you here. They kind of want to handle you with kid gloves and say, it's okay. You don't have to be scared. It's safe to be vulnerable. There's a lot of loyalty that comes through with the dog energy. It does feel like this is a strong connection. I feel like you would be loyal to each other. And I want to reassure you of that. But I also want you to be gentle with yourself. Or if it's the other person that's anxious and doesn't feel safe being vulnerable, you may need to be gentle with them. Because it's like dealing with a little deer who's afraid to come out of the bushes. And they may get startled very easily and run back into the bushes. And that's okay. Keep coaxing the deer out, you know, whether it's your inner self, whether it's the other person. Keep coaxing them out, keep coaxing them out. Show them that it's safe. That they can have fun, that they can be safe, that they are loved, that they can trust, that they can be trusted. Trust is definitely a big issue coming through here for you, maybe for both of you, but trust is a huge issue in this relationship, and I think that's going to be your biggest challenge on the longer term if you want to make this into a long-term relationship, but I think you have a good potential to do so. So let's take a look at the romance. Oh, okay, you want to come out. Commitment, the romance oracle cards. We have commitment. We've got a dotted line here. Commitment comes out on 30. A sign on the dotted line. So is that what you want to do? Do you feel ready to do that? Stronger together, 17. Grumble, grumble, passive aggressive. Okay. All right. Cupid, Eros, romance. Oh, nice. Yeah. Flash in the pan. Okay. So, all right. Interesting energy is coming out here. So do you want commitment or do you want a short-term relationship? And I kind of want to ask you this in all seriousness. Do you want a long-term relationship at this point? Because if you do, I feel like you're in the right place to have it. You're with the right person to have it. But you might not be ready for that. You might be only looking for a fling right now, in which case that's okay. But you need to be honest about that because I feel like the other person's looking for the long-term relationship. For some of you, it could be the other way around. The roles could be reversed, but I feel it's more likely you. I feel like you bring so much to each other. We've got the Stronger Together card here. It's a very hopeful energy. You could be looking with great positivity to the future because this is a very powerful connection, a powerful dynamic. You can do a lot together. You can have a good time together. You can be very successful together, very happy together. But if it's not the right time for you, if that's not what you want, then so be it. That's okay. You get to choose. You know, nobody's going to force you to stay with somebody, or I hope they're not going to try and force you. You should never be forced to do anything you don't want to do. But there is a very beautiful romantic energy here. We have Cupid, Eros, romance. You know, you may feel like, I really care about this person. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure if I'm ready for long term. But I have this wonderful connection. I really love this person. This is a big romance. This is an important romance in my life. So I want you to think very carefully about your next steps in this relationship. Approach carefully. Think about it carefully. Involve the head and the heart here because your head might be going, no, it's not the right time. I had other plans at this point in my life. I'm not ready for this. This isn't blah, 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 blah. You know, all of these things that your brain's going on, going la, 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 la. All of these logical reasons why you shouldn't be together. It's not the right timing. But this is a big romance. This is an important relationship. So regardless of what your mind might be saying, your heart might be saying something different, like, actually, I do want to be with this person. And I want to say it is safe for you to be with this person. I feel like the energy is safe for you to be with this person. Like, this would be a good connection. And I feel like, yes, you might need to put the brakes on a little bit and say, I do want to do this, but I want to do it in my own time. Okay, and to find that balance between you where, yes, you are working towards the long-term relationship, but maybe put the brakes on a little bit, just slow it down so that you feel comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable with the pace this is going, it could bring up passive-aggressive tendencies. You know, you might start taking jabs at the other person, you know, taking pot shots at them, which isn't very helpful at all, causing problems, trying to upset them, maybe trying to make them break up with you if you're feeling uncomfortable or feeling insecure about how things are. And that's a very toxic thing to do. You know, but it might be something that you've done in the past, might be something you have a bit of a bad habit of doing. So I'm just going to raise that there. Not everyone, you know, it might be the other person that feels that way. Let's see what else we've got here. Well-being comes first. Yes, your well-being is paramount. Hard-won results. Yeah, rainbows and unicorns, unrealistic expectations. Sacred soulmate. Yeah. Yeah. You see, this is a powerful relationship, okay? The timing might feel a little bit strange. It might be sooner than you were expecting. Maybe, oh my goodness, why is this happening now? It might be that kind of sense here. But this is a powerful soulmate relationship. This could be really good if you choose to take it forwards, if you decide to take it forwards. Just be very clear that your expectations are aligned. All right, make it very clear to the other person what it is that you want from the relationship moving forward, so your expectations are aligned, so you don't feel that there are unrealistic expectations on you or on the other person. Be very clear with each other, be very honest with each other about where you are, how you're feeling, and do it from a place of love as well. Don't take blame out of the equation. I want to say take blame, take pointing fingers, take apportioning blame out of this equation entirely when you speak to this person. So it might be helpful to actually do this with a trusted friend to mediate, or with a counsellor, just so that you can get to the heart of the matter in a gentle way and discuss it in a really positive way, rather than in a blaming way, or in a way that makes one of you feel that the other person's having a go at them. You know, try and have a win-win conversation about this, you know, where nobody feels lesser or attacked in any way, shape or form, because I feel like this other person's actually quite sensitive and you could really crush them. And I think you know that. I think you know that you could really crush them if you were like, oh, actually, I don't know if I want this to be a long-term relationship. I think they would really wither. That would really hurt them. And I think you know that, which is why this feels like such a big decision, and it might just be such difficult timing for you at the moment. But ultimately, I do feel like this can go long term and it can be good for you. All right, because we've got hard-won results here. Yes, you've got some healing and you've got some work to do to get there, but I think it would be worth it. It would be worth it on the longer term if you choose to do so, if you choose to go ahead with this. But your well-being is important. If you're struggling with your mental health, if you're struggling because you're not quite ready to go into a long-term relationship or take something long-term at the moment, then make sure you're getting the help and support that you need. Do you need some counselling? Do you need some help there? Do you need someone to talk to? Do you need someone to support you while you sort out some things in your life so that you can get ready for the next stage, so that you don't have to throw this one away and then wait and hope that the next person comes along? I do feel like I want to bring you some support here. I do feel like you need some support, pile 4. So that you can get what you need out of this relationship and get what you want out of this relationship, but without throwing it away, and still honouring what that other person needs as well. Because I do feel like there is a beautiful potential for this one to go on the longer term. But there are some things you need to let go of for that to happen, some emotions to let go of, some people perhaps to let go of, maybe some old habits, maybe even addictions for some of you to let go of, to bring your life into balance so you're ready for that commitment, so that you can do that in your own time. And yes, it might feel a little bit sooner than you hoped or expected, or maybe you had some expectation of, oh, I'm going to be single for 2 years after this relationship, then I'll think about marrying someone else. And it might have happened a lot sooner. But the universe loves speed. Okay, when the universe brings something in that's positive for us or helpful for us, it will come in fast. The universe loves speed, and I think you may have manifested this relationship a bit quicker than you were expecting, or sooner than you were expecting it to show up. But that's no bad thing. Okay, that's not a bad thing necessarily. There's some work to do here, mostly on yourself. I think clearing out that emotional clutter, those difficult past thought patterns, maybe some hurt from your past. But there's a really nice connection here. I think you have a beautiful potential for a long-term soulmate relationship here, if you choose to take it forwards. But again, I feel like it's going to be your decision. I feel like this is going to be entirely up to you. And the key here is balance. That is your key word. It's about finding balance between work, between love, between family, between spirituality, between all of the different aspects of yourself. All of the aspects which are valid, which are important, which do deserve to be honoured, taken care of and loved. So I want to say, be very gentle with yourself. There's no screaming urgency here, but do what you need to do so that you can move forwards. Do the healing that you need. Get the support that you need, because this is a lovely potential here if you want it. And if you miss out, well, you know, that might be a little bit sad. So please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Do leave a comment if there's something that you would like to share with us. I do read all your comments. I really, really appreciate your input and your feedback as well. If you have any ideas of videos that you would like me to make that I haven't made, please do let me know as well. I'm taking requests at the moment. You take very, very good care of yourself, pile 4. You're a really special person, and this relationship could be really special too. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.